Daddy Sukuna has corrected the mistake Trunks made in 1991 by cutting Frieza into two halves vertically, killing his daddy title competitor, and splitting him in half horizontally. But we're not here for the reiteration of this sob story. We're here to discuss the juicy details of what would have happened if Gojo was present in the story all along. Let's go! This theory is going to be divided into three scenarios. One, where Gojo was never sealed. The second was when Gojo won against Sukuna. And the third, where Gojo somehow gets revived after getting himself split up like Lego, going back to the Shibuya incident, which was released back in 2020. Yes, folks, it has been over 3 years since the calamity. In any case, we cut to the fight where Gojo annihilates the transfigured humans, only to be surprised by Kenjaku and taken hostage in the prison realm. Well, let's assume that Gojo wasn't bamboozled like in the original story, and managed to reverse the situation and flag Kenjaku from behind instead. This would result in an absolute snowball effect in regards to the story, as Mahito and Jogo would get killed instantly. However, the fate of Chozo would also turn grim as Gojo is most likely going to get rid of the brother figure as well, which for the moment leaves us with Kenjaku. And although having lived multiple lifetimes over the years, the most Kenjaku could come with to counter Gojo was the prison realm. So it is highly likely that the cunning parasite must have other aces up his sleeve as well, because he's really not one to die an insignificant death, as he already knew that the prison realm working wasn't a guarantee. Thus, he would never put himself in a position of vulnerability and hence would have already been long gone by the time Gojo got done with the disasters. Gojo is then going to bitch slap everyone outside, including the rogue sorcerers, and lift the veil, with the jujutsu sorcerers suffering minimum to no damage whatsoever. However, the events that are going to come next will be the turning point of the series. Yuji, who had previously been left for dead, would now no longer receive Sukuna's 10 fingers. Instead, he would only get the one with Mimiko and Nanako, which again would give him temporary access to Yuji's body, but not the full deal like it did before. Furthermore, Maki, who had previously slaughtered all of her family, including the scheming chipmunk Noya Zenin, would no longer hunt them down like the dogs they pretended to be, and instead, Nobito would maintain the status quo with the Gojo and Kamo families. And the most important of them all, the Culling Games would be indefinitely delayed, and Sukuna wouldn't get the chance to entrap Megumi like he did previously. But let's leave the boring chit-chat behind and discuss what the plan of Kenjaku would be going forward, as he's the only powerful antagonist left at this point, leaving Sukuna. As Kenjaku mentioned in the original series, he would definitely go for resurrecting Sukuna. This was a possibility at Shibuya itself. However, Gojo had already killed Kenjaku's emotional support group, aka the Disaster Curses, so Kenjaku really was in danger of getting Gito's body annihilated for the second time at the hands of Satoru Gojo. So going with Kenjaku's most obvious choice, he'd need the 14 crispy KFC fingers of Sukuna, which, to be honest, should be missing in action as Gojo annihilated Jogo, who had 10 of them, which means that the sorcerers currently have most of them in hand. So the game plan for Kenjaku looks something like this: revive Sukuna, make him fight and defeat Gojo, and somehow get his hands on Tengen so that he can trigger the evolution of humanity by merging everyone with the godlike entity. However, there's no chance Sukuna is getting anything out of his fight with Gojo without Maharaga and the 10 Shadows. And even if he somehow gets through Gojo, there will definitely be new powerhouses like Yuta, Yuki, Hikari, and even Tagaba, waiting for their turn to spank the big bad king of curses. But this has turned out a bit too favorable for the jujutsu sorcerers, and many people would argue that this led to the Zenin clan getting out unharmed, even after being super a-holes and Maki skipping the immense power-up. So let's move to another hypothesis where Gojo actually defeats Sukuna during the Shinjuku showdown. As stated in the manga, Sukuna was able to see Maharaga as a medium to learn to counter Gojo's infinity himself, and thus he ended up cutting through Gojo's infinity, reaching the man who once stood above everyone and splitting him into two. However, let's take the wildest assumption our heretic minds can come to and hypothesize that Megumi's soul, realizing that his beloved sensei was about to become a fruit ninja casualty, interferes in Sukuna's technique, thus giving Gojo time to defeat Sukuna once and for all. But to be honest, this is going to be the most anticlimactic power of friendship or the power of love, and cringe moment in the era of modern anime, wherein on one side, a deranged shapeshifter literally smothered the world to meet his delusional dream. I'm talking about Attack on Titan, of course. And on the other hand, the good guys won for the 6,969th time by using the power of friendship and dreams. Therefore, there's actually a very good possibility that both Gojo and Sukuna somehow off each other, thus leaving the chair of the strongest sorcerer forever empty, making it nothing less than a pipe dream. This would actually turn out to be the better conclusion if Gojo were to ever win his battle in the first place, leaving Gito as the last scheming antagonist to be taken care of by Yuji, who, to be honest, has a lot of catching up to do in order to prove himself to be the main protagonist in his own anime. But coming back to the main topic, how will things fold out after this? Well, Takaba is going to take hold of Kenjaku, while Yuta takes Kenjaku from behind by surprise, without the parasite feeling a thing. That came out wrong in more ways than one. But in any case, Kenjaku is certainly a parasite, a scheming lunatic, and a whole lot of cuckoo crazy. But one thing that he is not is a person who will make a massive tactical blunder by not devising a contingency plan in case things go south. After doing almost everything perfectly, from banging Yuji's father to turning Sukuna's body into cursed objects, his years of experience have left little to no room for errors, and our brain boy isn't stopping at just a small piece of his puzzle falling apart, and it is not going to affect his larger goal of bringing the golden age of jujutsu. Therefore, moving forward, Hikari is going to quickly take care of a distressed and enraged Urami, which will mostly lead to another large-scale fight that will most likely take place between Kenjaku and Yuta in the Lake Gojo colony, triggering the beginning of the end with Kenjaku pulling out the last ace up his sleeve, while the remaining sorcerers head to the colony to assist Yuta. However, there's still much clarification left as to where the story is headed after the latest chapters and the declaration that Jujutsu Kaisen is ending in 2024, because every time anyone makes a fairly foreseeable prediction on where the story is headed, Gege Akutami literally pulls a fast one on all fans and turns the story towards a more abysmal path than before, which leads us to our final and most sought-after scenario. What would happen if Gojo miraculously came back to life? Well, currently, the deadbeat lawyer and the side character in his own show are in a perpetual struggle against the King of Curses, where Higuruma has been forced to summon his executioner's sword, after Judge Man did what everyone expected all along. Instead of forcibly taking out Sukuna's cursed ability, he instead took out his weapon's cursed ability instead. To be honest, this was the lamest and most predictable turn of events till date. But if Gojo arrived right at this point in the story to assist his student, would he be able to win? Well, to be completely honest, Sukuna has devised a counter to literally all of Gojo's technique with the help of Maharaga. So even if Gojo did return to the battle, he would likely have to whip up an attack even better than Hollow Purple to defeat the now 6-limbed Sukuna, which will be a hard task even for Gojo. And unlike last time, Sukuna knows how to get through Gojo's infinity right from the beginning, along with the fact that this time around there won't be a domain struggle like the last time they both clashed. When the Shinjuku Showdown arc began, both the sorcerers were considered equal, with the tides turning just slightly towards Sukuna due to his having access to Megumin's body, which the sorcerers would have tried to protect to some extent in order to revive him. However, when Gojo enters this battlefield, he's going to be a certified dark horse, whose chances of winning would be much lower than previously. So the question still remains, how is Gojo going to do it? Well, the most probable answer would be that Gojo is going to hand over the baton to his pupil Itadori, and somehow try to become the missing piece of puzzle in the story of Yuji, so that he turns out to be the one who overcomes Sukuna. And with the advent of the soul-switching techniques Yuji just acquired along with the blood manipulation, therefore, with Gojo providing a supporting role in Yuji's fight and Higuruma taking a backseat from the conflict, Yuji's going to use his own sensei as a stepping stone to equal the playing field and somehow recapture Sukuna in his body once again, thus reverting Megumi's body back to usual. However, knowing Gege and his phobia of happy endings, we must add a twist or a cruel catch so that none of us ever get a satisfying ending, which would result in a double sacrifice of the sorcerers who started it all. Yuji trapping Sukuna and somehow self-destructing, or even better, asking Gojo to do what he was meant to do the first time he met him, that is, execute the young sorcerer to get rid of Sukuna once and for all. This would somehow turn out to be the perfect ending for the series, as Gege has time and again put characters in difficult situations, but his theme of realizing one's own happiness before death has remained present in all the protagonist's deaths so far. This would result in Sukuna finally getting in touch with the feeling, even though it was through Itadori's soul, marking a peaceful end, and you, my dear viewer, subscribing to our channel. See you soon.